My students brought something up today that made me pause. They said they'd seen a TikTok that said the president took away our First Amendment right to free speech. So let's talk about that, because it's not true, and understanding why it's not true is an important lesson in how democracy actually works. The First Amendment, the right to speak freely, to protest, to criticize your government, is not something a president can just take away. It's written into the Constitution, and for more than 2 centuries, the Supreme Court has upheld that right, even when it was uncomfortable or unpopular to do so. One of the clearest examples is Texas versus Johnson, which was decided in 1989. A protester named Gregory Lee Johnson burned an American flag outside the Republican National Convention and was arrested under a Texas law that made flag burning illegal. But the Supreme Court ruled that what he did was protected by the First Amendment, because burning a flag, while deeply offensive to many, was a form of political expression. That case was decided when I was in high school, during the Cold War. We were still deathly afraid of the Soviets, afraid of nuclear war. We watched the original Red Dawn and thought the Russians would invade our country. In Rocky IV, little Rocky Balboa took down the ginormous Russian boxer, and the audience went wild. My point in saying this is that patriotism was everywhere. USA, USA. But even then, the Supreme Court said the government cannot punish someone just because their protest makes others angry. That's what free speech means. It protects dissent, not conformity. Fast forward to now, Trump recently said that anyone who burns a flag should face jail time. He even signed an executive order directing prosecutors to crack down on it. But that order doesn't make it true. It's not the law. It's mostly political theater, a way to try and look tough while ignoring the fact that the Supreme Court has already ruled flag burning is protected speech. So no, my dear students, the First Amendment hasn't been taken away by Donald Trump. But here's what is happening. When a president keeps saying things that aren't true, and when his supporters repeat them, people start to believe them. And once people believe they've lost their rights, they start to act like they have. They stop speaking out. They stop protesting. They stay quiet to avoid trouble. That's how freedoms fade. Not because the law has changed, but because fear has taken hold. And that fear doesn't stop with flag burning. Look at what's happening to people who have stood up to this president. Former FBI Director James Comey's been indicted. Adam Schiff, now a U.S. Senator from California, he led Trump's first impeachment as the House Intelligence Chair, the one who laid out the case that the president had abused his power and then later became one of Trump's most persistent critics. And then there's New York Attorney General Letitia James, who pursued multiple cases against Trump. She's being targeted too. Look, you don't have to like or agree with any of those people to see the pattern. A president using the justice system to punish critics is exactly what the First Amendment was written to prevent. And that brings me to today, to why I picked up the phone and called my representatives. Because using your voice is how you defend your rights. Speaking out, organizing, holding elected officials accountable, that's the living, breathing work of the First Amendment. It's not just about the right to burn a flag. It's about the right to demand better from your government. We are 9 days into a government shutdown, and people are hurting. The Republicans, the president's party, the party that is controlling Congress, they caused this. That is clear. But today I called my Democratic representatives because even though they're in the minority, they still have voices, and I thought they needed to be reminded of that. They need to use them. I left messages because, nobody's answering their phones, and I said that we the people want to see them in front of the cameras every single day. We want to hear them reminding the country who shut it down and who's fighting to protect people's health care and basic needs. Yeah, the Democrats are the ones doing that. We want to see them standing together on the steps of the Capitol and shining the light on the fact that Congress is on a paid vacation, paid, at the behest of Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, while other essential government employees are showing up to work and not getting paid. Tell me how that makes sense. I want to see the Democrats earning their pay, fighting for us, not shrinking into silence while chaos takes center stage all across the country. Because silence, even from the people trying to do the right thing, is dangerous. One press conference here and there isn't going to cut it. The Democrats need to stand united, they need to be visible, and they need to be vocal. When leaders stop speaking up, fear fills the void where courage should be. You can't blame the party that's not in power for a government shutdown. Just like you can't declare something true just because you want it to be. That's not how things work. That's just magical thinking. The Supreme Court made it clear in 1989, the freedom to speak, to protest, and to dissent doesn't come from a president. That freedom is protected from one, especially this one. And that's the message I want my students and my representatives to remember. Free speech isn't gone, but it only survives if we use it. And I don't plan on staying quiet, and neither should you.